if I told you that one of the most debated events in history, Jesus' resurrection, has more historical evidence than nearly any other ancient event? Skeptics and believers alike have questioned it for centuries, but today we're diving deep into the evidence. From ancient Roman records to the testimony of over 500 witnesses, we'll explore how this story holds up under scrutiny. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you might just rethink everything you thought you knew. Julius Africanus. Let's start with some lesser-known, non-Christian accounts. Julius Africanus references a historian named Thallus, who wrote around AD 50, discussing the strange darkness during Jesus' crucifixion. Thallus attempted to explain this darkness as a solar eclipse, but Julius Africanus, in his chronography, challenges this explanation. He writes, "On the whole world there pressed a most fearful darkness, and the rocks were rent by an earthquake, and many places in Judea and other districts were thrown down." This darkness, Thallus, in the third book of his history, calls, as appears to me without reason, an eclipse of the sun. Africanus argues that this explanation is impossible because a solar eclipse cannot occur during a full moon, which is when the Passover took place. This detail aligns with the Gospel accounts, such as Luke 23:44-45, which says, "It was now about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour, while the sun's light failed, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two." Both accounts, Thallus's attempt to explain the darkness and the Gospel's description of supernatural events, demonstrate the magnitude of what occurred during Jesus' crucifixion. While Thallus provides a natural explanation, Africanus refutes it, emphasizing the extraordinary nature of these events. Phlegon, a Greek historian, wrote in his chronicles that during the reign of Tiberius in AD 33, there was a great eclipse and an earthquake, events strikingly similar to those mentioned in Matthew's Gospel, Matthew 27:45-51. Although Phlegon doesn't refer to Jesus by name, he records extraordinary natural events, such as the darkening of the sky at noon and an earthquake, which mirror the Gospel account. Additionally, the Babylonian Talmud, a central Jewish text, mentions the execution of Jesus, referred to as Yeshu, on the eve of Passover. Although hostile toward Jesus, it confirms the timing and method of his death, using the term hanged, which can be interpreted as crucifixion. Despite its critical stance, the Talmud corroborates several important aspects of the gospel narrative surrounding Jesus' execution. The Pilate Stone. In 1961, archaeologists made a remarkable discovery in Caesarea Maritima, Israel, uncovering a limestone block that has since been called the Pontius Pilate Stone. This stone, dated to the 1st century, bears an inscription in Latin that mentions the name Pontius Pilate, confirming his historical role as the prefect of Judea under Emperor Tiberius, the Roman governor who, according to the Gospels, sentenced Jesus to crucifixion. The inscription reads, "Tiberium Pontius Pilatus, prefect of Judea, has dedicated this." This is significant because prior to the discovery of the Pilate Stone, Pilate's existence and role were known primarily through written sources, including the New Testament Gospels and the writings of historians like Josephus and Tacitus. Some skeptics had questioned whether Pilate was a real historical figure, or if his role had been exaggerated or invented by early Christians. The Pontius Pilate stone provides solid archaeological evidence for Pilate's existence, confirming not only that he governed Judea during the time of Jesus, but also his association with public works projects. As the inscription suggests, he dedicated the stone to Emperor Tiberius. This find directly corroborates the Gospel accounts, specifically the role of Pilate in the trial and execution of Jesus, like in Matthew chapter 27, verses 24-26. It's a key piece of physical evidence that supports the historical reliability of the New Testament narrative. Let's turn to one of the most important Roman historians, Tacitus. Writing around AD 116 in his Annals, Book 15, Chapter 44, Tacitus discusses the persecution of Christians under Emperor Nero following the Great Fire of Rome in AD 64. He refers to the execution of Jesus, referred to as Christus, under Pontius Pilate during the reign of Tiberius. Here's what Tacitus says. Nero fastened the guilt for the fire and inflicted the most exquisite tortures on a class hated for their abominations, called Christians by the populace. Christus, from whom the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our procurators, Pontius Pilatus. This passage is significant because Tacitus, a non-Christian Roman historian, confirms Jesus' execution under Pilate and refers to Christianity as a mischievous superstition. Tacitus' account provides independent, non-Christian evidence that Jesus' crucifixion was a well-known historical event. One of the most striking claims in the New Testament is that over 500 people saw Jesus alive after his death. In 1 Corinthians 15-6, the Apostle Paul writes, "Then he appeared to more than 500 brothers at one time, most of whom are still alive, though some have fallen asleep." Why does this matter? 1. It's close to the event. Paul wrote this letter just 20 years after Jesus' crucifixion, a very short time in ancient history. He's practically daring people to verify it by saying, "Many of these witnesses are still alive. Go ask them." 2. Easy to disprove, yet no one did. If this claim were false, it would have been simple for critics to debunk by speaking to those witnesses. But no historical record exists of anyone doing so. The silence is telling. 3. 500 witnesses. This isn't just one or two people, it's 500 at once. That's a large crowd to deny or dismiss. This short, powerful claim would have been hard to ignore or refute, making it a key piece of early Christian testimony. The swoon theory. The swoon theory suggests that Jesus didn't actually die on the cross, but merely fainted, or swooned, and later revived in the tomb. According to this theory, Jesus then appeared to his disciples, leading them to believe he had risen from the dead. However, this theory is considered impossible for several reasons. 1. Roman crucifixion. Roman soldiers were expert executioners, and they ensured that those crucified were dead. Jesus was pierced with a spear, which would have caused fatal injuries, confirming his death. 2. Physical trauma. The severity of Jesus' scourging, crucifixion, and the spear wound would have left him in a critically weakened state, making it physically impossible for him to move the heavy stone blocking the tomb, much less appear in a healthy, glorified state to his disciples. 3. Medical evidence. Modern medical studies confirm that the process of crucifixion causes death through asphyxiation, heart failure, and extreme blood loss, leaving no chance for survival. In short, the swoon theory fails to account for the physical and medical realities of crucifixion and is rejected by historians and medical experts alike. The stolen body theory. The stolen body theory suggests that Jesus' disciples stole his body from the tomb to fabricate the story of his resurrection. However, this theory is highly unlikely for several reasons. 1. Roman guards. The tomb was guarded by Roman soldiers, making it nearly impossible for the disciples to steal the body unnoticed. 2. Heavy stone. The large stone sealing the tomb would have been difficult to move quietly, especially with guards present. 3. Unlikely motivation. The disciples were in hiding, fearful for their lives after Jesus' crucifixion. It's improbable that they would risk their lives to steal the body and then endure persecution and martyrdom for a lie. In essence, the stolen body theory doesn't hold up against the historical facts surrounding the tomb and the disciples' transformation. The hallucination theory. Some suggest the disciples hallucinated seeing Jesus. But here's the thing, hallucinations are personal. You can't have 500 people all hallucinating the same thing at the same time. And Jesus didn't just appear to one or two people, he appeared to large groups. They touched him, he ate with them. These are physical interactions, not just visions. Psychologically speaking, group hallucinations don't happen. And many of the disciples weren't even expecting to see Jesus alive. They had lost hope. So the idea that they all shared the same vision just doesn't hold up. In the end, the hallucination theory just can't explain what really happened. The resurrection wasn't a fleeting vision, it was a life-changing event. At the end of the day, the evidence for Jesus' death and resurrection is overwhelming compared to the alternative explanations. The question is, what do you think? Let's continue the conversation in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you found this interesting. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.